You're sitting in that small glass office at the back of the dealership. The car is picked. The keys are almost yours. Then a friendly man slides a paper across the desk and starts talking about your monthly payment. Right there, in that moment, most people, over 70, quietly lose thousands of dollars and never even feel it leave their pocket. Here is what I learned far too late in life. The price of the car was never the real game. The real money gets made after you say yes, in the paperwork, in the interest rate, and in the little extras you never asked for. And almost none of it is set in stone. I am going to show you 5 things that turn the whole thing around. One of them comes straight from a federal law passed in 1968, a law that hands you a right most buyers never use once in their lives. I did every bit of this myself, at 71 years old, in an ordinary dealership, with nothing but a yellow notepad and my phone on the desk. Let me take you back to the spring of 2019. I was standing on a lot outside Dayton, Ohio, in a light drizzle, running my hand along the roof of a used sedan. I felt smart. I had done my homework on the price. I thought the hard part was behind me. I had no idea the expensive part had not even started yet, because for most of my life, I bought cars the way my father did. I haggled hard on the sticker price, felt proud when they came down a few $100s, and then relaxed the moment we moved inside to sign. That relaxing is exactly where they got me, every single time. And it took me until my 70s to understand why. So let me start with the first thing, the one that fooled me for 40 years without me ever noticing. It begins with a single question they always ask. What monthly payment are you comfortable with? It sounds kind. It sounds like they are trying to help you fit this into your budget. It is the most expensive question in the entire building. Here is why. The moment you answer with a monthly number, you have handed them the controls. Because a monthly payment is made of 4 separate things all tangled together. The price of the car, the value of your trade-in, the interest rate, and the number of months you pay. They can move any one of those 4 around and still hit the monthly payment you asked for, while quietly taking more from you on the parts you stopped watching. This is not new. This is a selling system that goes back generations. In the 1950s and 60s, dealerships trained their salesmen using something called the 4 square. It was a paper worksheet divided into 4 boxes. Purchase price in one box, trade-in value in another, down payment in the third, monthly payment in the fourth. The whole purpose of that worksheet was to keep all 4 numbers moving at once, so your eye could never rest on any single one long enough to see the truth. They would give you a good number in one box and take it right back in another, and your attention followed the payment like a cat follows a piece of string. I have seen that worksheet with my own eyes. When I finally learned what it was, I asked a young salesman to show me his, and there it sat, 4 squares, exactly the way it was drawn up 70 years ago. Nothing had changed except the price of the cars. So here is what to do, and it cost you nothing. Refuse to talk in monthly payments. When they ask what payment you are comfortable with, you say plainly, let's agree on the total price of the car first, and we will talk about payments after that is settled. Then you keep every number in its own box. You negotiate the price of the car by itself. You negotiate the trade-in by itself. You settle the interest and the term by themselves, one at a time, never all at once. The first time I did this, the salesman actually paused. The rhythm was broken, and in that pause, I could feel who really had the power in the room shift, just a little, toward my side of the desk. But settling the price is only the beginning, because there is a second number in that room that is far bigger than the price of the car, and it is the one they least want you to understand. That number is the interest rate. And I need to tell you something about interest rates that took me 68 years to find out. Something that made me genuinely angry when I finally understood it. When you apply for financing through the dealership, the dealer sends your information to a bank or a lending company. That lender looks at your credit and sends back a rate. Let's say the lender approves you at 5%. That is called the buy rate. It is the true rate you qualified for. But here is the part nobody says out loud. The dealership is allowed to add to that rate before they show it to you. They can take that 5% and tell you it is 7% and pocket the difference for the length of the whole loan. This has a name inside the business. They call it dealer reserve or rate participation. It is legal, it is common, and on a normal car loan, that quiet markup can cost you well over $1,000 over the life of the loan, sometimes a great deal more, for doing absolutely nothing except not knowing to ask. Now here is where the story gets serious, because this is not a small accident. In 2013, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, a federal agency, put out formal guidance warning about this exact practice because the markup was being applied unevenly and older and more trusting buyers were often paying the most. Think about that. A government watchdog looked at how car interest was being marked up and felt the need to step in. That is how big and how routine this had become. So who benefits when you don't know? The person in that little glass office. In the trade, they are called the finance and insurance manager. Their job is not to find you the cheapest loan. Their job is to make the dealership money on the financing itself, on top of the car. Every extra point of interest they can add is money in the house's pocket. That is not a villain in a movie. That is simply how the room is built. And for most of my life, I walked into that room believing the finance man was there to help me. He was doing his job. I just didn't know what his job actually was. Here is how you take that power back, and it is beautifully simple. You ask one question, and you ask it flat out. Is this the buy rate, or has the dealership marked it up? Just asking that question tells them, you know the game exists, and then you say the words that change everything. I would like to see if you can beat the rate I already have. Which brings me to the third thing. The single most powerful move I have ever learned about buying a car, and the one I wish someone had told me back in 1985. Get your loan approved before you ever walk onto the lot. I know. For most of my life, I thought financing was something that only happened at the dealership, at the very end, as part of the deal. It never once occurred to me that I could walk in already holding my own money. That belief cost me dearly across a lifetime of cars, and it is completely backwards. Here is what to do. Before you shop for the car, you go to your own bank, and even better, to a credit union, and you ask for pre-approval on an auto loan. This is not complicated, and it does not cost you anything to ask. They look at your situation, and they hand you an approval with a set rate and a set amount, often as a check or a firm commitment you carry with you. Now, you are not a person hoping to be approved. You are a person with cash in hand, and the dealer knows it. And let me tell you specifically about credit unions, because this is where the real savings hide. A credit union is not owned by outside investors. It is owned by its own members, by ordinary people like you and me. Any profit comes back to the members in the form of better rates. The National Credit Union Administration, which is the federal body that oversees them, publishes the average rates every quarter, and year after year, credit union auto loan rates run noticeably lower than what the big banks and the dealers offer. Over a normal loan, that difference alone can save you many hundreds, often more than $1,000. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now, because I thought it too. You are thinking, this sounds like a lot of running around, and I don't have somebody to drive me from bank to bank, and I don't want to deal with computers and applications. I want to speak to you directly for a moment, because this next part I figured out specifically for people who feel that way. You do not need a computer. You do not need a ride to 5 different places. You need a telephone, the same one you already own. You call one local credit union. Just one to start. You can find the number in the phone book or ask a family member to write it down for you once. You tell the person who answers, I am thinking of buying a car, and I would like to ask about getting pre-approved for an auto loan. That is the whole sentence. They will walk you through it, step by step, on the phone, at your own pace. Most credit unions will let you do the entire thing by phone and mail if you ask, and the person on the other end is a member-owned local person, not a commission salesman. And if leaving the house is hard, here is the part that matters most. Once you have that pre-approval in your hand, you have already won the biggest battle before you ever set foot on a lot. You walk in knowing your rate. You walk in knowing your limit. When the finance manager offers you his financing, you simply say, "I already have my own financing arranged, but you are welcome to try to beat it. And now watch what happens." Suddenly, the rate they offer you gets better, because now they have to actually compete for you instead of counting on you not knowing any better. I did this the second time I bought a car after I learned all this. I called one credit union on a Tuesday morning from my kitchen table with a cup of coffee. By the end of the week, I had a firm rate. When I told the dealer I already had my financing, his whole approach changed in about 10 seconds. He came back with a lower number than my credit union, which was fine by me because now they were fighting each other to lend me money instead of the other way around. That is the whole trick. You make them compete. And you can start that fight from your own kitchen table with a single phone call. And that determination is what led me to the last thing. But before I get there, I want to share something with you that goes hand in hand with everything we have covered so far. All of this knowledge, the Foursquare, the buy rate, the credit union trick, the add-on cancellations, I pulled it together into a book specifically for people in our situation. It is called Smart Keys, and it is part of a series that includes Deep Senior Edge and Deal Done. I wrote it the way I wish someone had written it for me 30 years ago. Plain English, no jargon, no fine print, just the real shape of the room and exactly what to say when you sit down in it. If you want it, the link is in the description below. Now, back to that fifth thing, the one I hold on to tightest of all, because almost nobody knows it exists, and it can put real money back in your hands even after you think it is too late. So we have handled the payment trap, the marked up interest, and getting your own loan first. But now we come to the part of the room where I got taken the worst over the years. The part that hides in plain sight after you think the deal is done. The add-ons. Once the price is set and the financing is arranged, the finance manager reaches for a menu, not a food menu, a menu of extra products. And this is where the real profit of the whole day often lives. Extended warranties, which they now like to call vehicle service contracts, gap insurance, paint protection, fabric protection, rust proofing, tire and wheel coverage, key replacement plans, something called VIN etching, where they scratch your vehicle number into the glass and charge you a small fortune for it, and that anti-theft product they mark up several $100s. Here is what I did not understand for most of my life. These items carry some of the highest markups in the entire building. That fabric protection that costs them a few dollars of spray can be sold to you for hundreds. That VIN etching that you can do yourself with a kit for a few dollars gets sold for $200 or $300. And the extended warranty, the big one, is very often marked up to twice what the dealer paid for it, or more. The price on that menu is almost never a fixed price. It is a starting offer, exactly like the sticker on the windshield, and they have a clever way of selling all of it to you. They fold it into the monthly payment. It is only $15 more a month, they say. $15 a month sounds like nothing, but $15 a month across a 72-month loan is over $1,000, and you are paying interest on top of it the entire time. They shrink the number down to a size your mind waves through, while the real total quietly balloons. Let me tell you where this whole style of selling comes from, because it helps to see the shape of it. Way back, the profit was almost entirely in the car itself, but as prices got easier to compare, especially once folks could check numbers from home, the profit margin on the actual vehicle got squeezed thinner and thinner, so the money moved. It moved off the car and into the finance office, into the interest markup, and into these products. The car became the bait, the finance office became the hook. And the person most likely to trust the friendly man with the menu, the person least likely to say no to each item, was very often someone my age, raised to be polite, and to assume the fellow across the desk had our interest at heart. So here is what to do, and it is easier than you think. You are allowed to say no to every single one of these. Every one. None of them is required to buy the car. None of them is required to get the financing. When the menu comes out, you can simply say, "I am not adding any products today. Just the car, please." You do not owe an explanation. And if there is one you genuinely want, like gap insurance for a car you are financing with very little down, you say, "I might consider that one, but not at this price," and not fold it into the payment. Give me the cash price for that item by itself. Watch how fast the price drops when it stands alone in its own box, out in the light, where you can actually see it. I once sat and totaled up the add-ons on an old contract of mine from years earlier before I knew any of this. I had paid for rust-proofing on a car in a climate that did not need it, fabric protection I never once thought about again, and an extended warranty I never used a single time. Added together, with the interest I paid on all of it, it came to more than the cost of a decent used car by itself. I felt sick. But I also felt something else, something more useful. I felt determined never to walk into that room unarmed again. Here is the setup. Let's say you did not know all this in time. Let's say you already bought the car. You already signed. You already have the extended warranty and a couple of add-ons rolled into your loan. And now, reading this, your stomach is sinking because you think that door is closed. It is not closed. And this is the part they truly do not want you to know. That extended warranty, that vehicle service contract, and most of those add-on products can very often be canceled after the sale, and you can get a prorated refund of the part you have not used. Let me say that again plainly, because it took me a long time to believe it myself. You can call the dealership or the company that backs the warranty weeks after you bought the car, sometimes months or even a year or more later, cancel that service contract, and get money back for the unused portion. If you paid for a 7-year warranty and you cancel in the second year, you are owed a refund for the years you are giving back. And if it was rolled into your loan, that refund should go toward knocking down what you still owe. This is not a loophole or a trick. It is written right into the terms of most of these contracts. There's language in there about cancellation and refunds, but it is buried in the fine print, in the pages nobody reads, and the finance office is in no hurry at all to remind you it is there, because that refund comes straight back out of the profit they already counted. I have read these contracts now, page by page, with a magnifying glass at my kitchen table, and the cancellation clause is almost always sitting right there, waiting for someone to actually use it. Now here is the deeper right underneath all of this. And this is the piece I promised you at the very start. It goes back to a federal law from 1968 called the Truth in Lending Act. When that law passed, and through the rule that carries it out, known as Regulation Z, lenders were required for the first time to tell you the truth about what credit actually costs. Not the shrunk-down monthly payment, the real numbers. The law requires that your contract clearly show the amount financed, the finance charge, meaning the total dollars you will pay just for the privilege of borrowing, and something called the annual percentage rate, the APR, which is the honest yearly cost of the loan with the fees folded in. Do you understand what that means for you? By law, the true cost is written on your paperwork. It has been required to be there since before many of us bought our very first car. The whole game of hiding everything inside a friendly monthly payment only works if you never make them point to those boxes. And you have the right every single time to say, before I sign, show me the amount financed, show me the total finance charge, and show me the APR. They must have it there. It is the law. That law was passed to protect exactly the kind of trusting buyer I used to be, and for decades I never once used the shield that was already sitting in my hands. So put it all together, because now The whole picture is finally in the light. You keep every number in its own box and refuse to negotiate by monthly payment. You ask whether your interest rate has been marked up above the buy rate. You walk in with your own pre-approval from a credit union, so they have to compete for you. You decline the high markup add-ons or make them price each one alone in the open. And you hold on to the knowledge that even after the sale, you can cancel those service contracts and claw back the unused money, protected by a law that has been on the books since 1968. I want to tell you how it felt the first time I did all of this together in one sitting. I was calm. That is the strange part. I was not nervous, and I was not angry. I sat in that little glass office with my notepad, my pre-approval letter, and my one page of questions, and for the first time in my long life, I was not the one being handled. When the menu came out, I said no thank you. When the payment talk started, I brought it back to the total price. When the rate appeared, I asked if it was the buy rate, and I watched a deal that would have cost me thousands settle into something fair. I drove home that day feeling like I had gotten back something that had been taken from me quietly, year after year, for decades. Because that is really what this is. It is not about being clever or being difficult. It is about knowing what was always true and always written down, the things that convenience and friendliness and a shrunk-down monthly payment were designed to keep you from noticing. My parents' generation haggled over everything and trusted no fine print, and somewhere along the way, we were gently taught to relax and let the nice man handle the paperwork. That relaxing has cost our whole generation more than I can bear to add up. If you are the kind of person who believes that honest, plain knowledge should not be hidden behind a friendly smile and a stack of papers, then you already belong here, because that is exactly the kind of buried wisdom I go looking for. Now I want to hear from you, and I mean this. Think back over your own life, over every car you ever bought. Did you ever pay for an extended warranty you never used a single time? Or fabric protection or rust proofing you forgot about the moment you drove off the lot? Tell me about it in the comments below. Write it down and post it, even just a line, because when one of us shares what it cost, another one of us learns to say no next time. Do not just nod along and scroll away. Leave the comment. It matters more than you think. And if you want more of these, the forgotten rights and quiet methods that make daily life cheaper and give you back a little control, come along with the rest of us who are digging this knowledge back up together. Because the next thing I want to show you is something about the paperwork on your own home. A single document most people over 70 have never checked that could be quietly costing you money every year you keep paying without knowing to look. I found it the same way I found all of this, buried in plain sight. And once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. I will be waiting for you there. You just watched me break this open, but I stopped at the overview. Inside the Wiser Living Circle, I pick up right where this video left off, walking through the full playbook, and you can ask me your own question. A real person, me, answers you, never a machine. You'd be joining thousands of practical seniors who belong here. Just point your phone's camera at the code on screen. Cancel anytime. One click.